Okay, I just picked up this Ham 65 beer sign. It's in fairly good shape, but if you listen a little closer, you can hear that the motor is making some noise. So I'm going to replace the motor. And I got this motor, I bought this motor from Emjaybeerstuff on eBay. So he sends a nice motor in a package, and it's all I need to replace this motor. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the cover, so I'll show it with it removed. And now I'm going to show you how to replace this motor without taking the entire beer sign apart. Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to unplug the beer sign, because you shouldn't be working on it when it's turned on, of course. One of the first things I want to do is I want to remove these plastic covers. So I'm going to just do that real quick. I removed the 8 screws from these plastic translucent covers. So I'm just going to remove them first and set those aside. And the next thing I'm going to do is I want to release the tension on this scroll. So I go to the roller on the end, and there's a couple springs on the end. I just take a pair of needle nose pliers and I unhook that spring, and then on the opposite side, so once I remove these springs, that means I can just kind of loosen up, let this thing loose. The next thing I want to do is I want to remove the cover on this end for where the motor is. So let me just tip this up a little. I'm just going to remove these nuts here and get this one off. There we go. 2 of them are removed. Next thing I do is I want to remove this metal cover. I know some people tell me that this cover is lots of times missing from their beer sign. So I just slip it out of there and set that aside also. And you can see the old motor inside there. One thing I did forget is I probably want to remove these rails also, or at least free them up on one side. I'll remove 1 screw on each end. Okay, so removing these 2 screws kind of makes it free, and you can get access to the motor, access to the belt. So the next thing I want to do is I'll show you the motor that I got from Emjaybeerstuff. And basically it's a motor. It comes with a pulley already attached, a complete system for replacing a Ham 65 motor. So I'll just set that aside. The next thing I want to do is remove the motor. Okay, the motor is held on by these 2 posts, and can either be 1 screw on top, or maybe I've seen them where there's 2 screws on top to hold the position. So, and they typically have a washer, so I remove that washer and hold on to it, retain that washer. And the posts you'll need a flathead screwdriver to remove that post. And this one's already loosened up, so I'm just going to remove this post and set that aside. So the motor is not quite free. I'm going to remove this 1 screw here. Okay, I remove that 1 screw, and then I can just pull this motor directly straight out. Oh, I forgot one thing. It has a belt attached still. On this side, you can see the belt, if you can see it through the scroll. So there's one other thing I can do to kind of give myself more room, so I can remove the belt. And oftentimes I'll take out this middle bulb. So I just twist it and remove it. And then I just pull this out the side. That gives me more room. You want to be really careful when you're messing with the scroll, because oftentimes they can pull apart at the seam. So just be careful of the scroll. And so now the next thing, in order to remove the belt, if you loosen up the motor, push it that way, then you should be able to have enough freedom on that belt to pull it past. So I'm going to try and do that right now. There, I pulled it past the pulley, and at that point I should be able to pull the motor straight out. Okay, so next thing is I just pull the motor out, and the motor will just have 2 wires attached to it. You can see that's what it looks like. So keep in mind that the machine, the beer sign is unplugged. So I'm going to unhook these 2 wires. I'm going to unscrew the wire nuts. There's one. And there's 2. I just pulled the old motor off of here. There. And I'm going to replace it with the new motor. So this motor goes in the same way. Wires should be facing down like I have it. And just go right in like that. And there's 4 holes in the tabs of the motors. So you want to put these posts on the bottom tabs. So let me just show you how that's done. On the bottom holes of the tabs. See how it's right like that. And the next thing we want to do is we want to put the belt onto the pulley. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to put the belt on with my hand. So let's just try and do that right now. I'm going to hold the motor with this hand, it's free, and slide my hand underneath and just pull the belt over the pulley. So that worked out nice. Now I gotta attach the motor to the beer sign flange, and I get these posts that I had taken earlier, and basically I want to put those back over these posts. These posts are like a nut. They're threaded on the bottom side, so I can put that in by hand. That's one. Here's the second one. Just put them in by hand right now, finger tight. So a lot of people worry about the tension on this belt to the pulley. Well, with this new motor, there's just a little bit of, you can pull it and tighten it, put a little tension on it, but it's not really critical how, it has to be pulled with some tension, but I wouldn't agonize over it. I wouldn't try and really pull it tight. Just put it about like that, hand tight, and then tighten up the posts. I do that with a screwdriver again. Don't over tighten. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Next thing I want to do is I want to attach the wires. And in this case, the wires on this new motor are blue wires, and it's attaching to a white and to a black wire. I would just twist them. Put the wire nut on there. So it doesn't matter, this motor, it doesn't matter, which wire goes to which side. In this case, they're both blue, so, and some signs have 2 black wires, but if you put the wires back where the original motor was, you'll be fine. It'll run in the correct direction. So there we go. The motor is attached. What I typically do now is I just test it, give it a test. I turn it on and make sure the motor is working properly. So let me plug it in real quick. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see that the pulley is turning, the belt is turning, it's functioning properly. There is no noise, it's not making noise like the old motor. so I know everything's working well, and then I just unplug it. One other thing about this motor. This motor, I'm not going to be using the upper screw that I took off of this original motor. I'm just using these two posts to tighten the motor in place. And like I said, it's not critical how much tension you put on the belt. The motors work great with the belt as is, and with these two posts holding it in place. So now the next steps I'm going to go through, I'm going to put the bulb back in. I'm going to put the cover back on this. And then I'm going to put the translucent covers back in place, and then we'll start this thing up again. Okay, I put everything back together. I put the cover on, the nuts, to put the bulb back in. I put the screws in the end rails. I put these two plastic translucent covers on with all the 8 screws. Then I put the springs on both ends. And so let me start it up and see if it's working. So I don't know if you can see, but the scroll is moving. The scroll is pretty dirty right now. I probably have to clean this beer sign up. But you can also say that there's virtually no noise coming from the new motor, so it's good to go. Let me get the cover. Here's the cover. I'm going to place over the top. So you can see the motion of the waterfall still working great. The inner part is motion's great, and also the far right side the water is rippling. So another successful motor replacement from MJ Beer Stuff. Thank you.